Okay, so now one thing that happens with these clouds is that they all kind of get dark, and usually you need some areas that are brighter again in front as it stacks up along this perspective view. One thing that I'd like to do is simply use the same brush, the airbrush, but in a mode which is not going to show the current color, and you can basically use the right button. If you have the secondary color set to bright, like a white, or go to perfect white, and then draw with that, but without the randomness. Okay, so you'll need to disable the random position. There you go. Let's go and undo this. Okay, and just do with the right button a couple of silver linings. So this is to make it look like the sun is shining underneath or behind it, right? Something like this. And you'll do the same thing here. Alright, so then you can go back to painting with the main the left button, and do some more of these. Perhaps reintroduce a little bit of randomness there. Random position. Wait, I didn't do enough there. Random size, random position. All of these will contribute to a little bit more of a Mother Nature out of control kind of thing. But the whole idea is to do the bleeding, and that will add some smearing to it. Of course, you can also go with the mode. You can set the smearing right there. There's a paint smear and there's a smear mode. That also will help in some ways. Really, the look will vary. So, you know, experiment with those. I like the opaque mode, and then with the bleed to get some of the existing background color in there. And again, you may need to get a little bit more white and then back dark. So left button, right button there, right? So with the right button, I'm drawing some bright, and with the left button, I'm making it dark and fluffy again. That's actually something that you need to recognize here in the brush settings. There is two groups of colors, of parameters. The top group here affects both the left and the right button. So when you have the random position, it affects both. It is in effect whether you use the left button or the right button to paint. And then the ones on the bottom, the random hue, you know, if you add that a little bit to it, that will add to that will become visible only the saturation, the random value, all of these, and the bleed and the dry out. These will only have effect on painting with the main color, the left button. If you go dry out, for instance, it's going to go away really quickly. See, right now nothing happens anymore because it dries out so quickly. Okay, if I do a little bit of dry out, it still is going to affect it when I paint with the left button, whereas with the right button it doesn't. It keeps going forever and ever. So that's the thing to remember, is that the bottom group you see here, these parameters, from the paint hue, from the random hue all the way down to dry out, these only affect painting with the secondary color. That's the one used with the right button. So you can actually use that to your advantage if you have some painting that you want with the bleed and some painting that you quickly want without the bleed, right? Because you can basically do exactly that here. You can paint with one color without the bleed, and then paint with the other color, this one here, and it will do the bleed. Alright, so we are starting to get a nice little background of clouds here. We probably need a little bit less on the random position, so we can actually do some really clean silver lining. It's also too big, so one thing I would recommend we do here, you know, as we refine this, we probably will need to make that silver lining a little bit thinner. And that's simply done with the size here. Reduce the size, or do it here in the main panel, main options panel. Reduce the size, and then so that way you should be able to do some very, let's see, opacity. Keep the opacity high. Oh, this is really small now. Maybe not quite that small. There you go. I have some let's see, let's get the white. Okay, so that's actually pretty small. No, it's still pretty big. Let's get the step. Also, if you increase the step, it will allow you to travel a bit further distance before it's actually doing anything. So here you go. You can do kind of a interrupted line And then there's another thing that you see on some of these clouds, especially cumulonimbus. You know, down here at the bottom, it'll be patchy and hazy and fluffy and out of focus almost, because there's a lot of turbulence, high speeds, and it's up close. Whereas further up there, you would expect to see it very crisp. And there is one exception though, and that's when you have some high winds shearing it to the top and giving that anvil cloud look. So one thing that I would do for that is I would go perhaps reset the brush to a medium airbrush, and then go into the smear mode or the paint smear mode. Okay, because there you can go and maybe you need to go back sideways in both directions. Select a lighter color there, do a couple of dabs of that, make it a little bit larger, higher opacity. There you go. And especially if you do the very long, very long protracted shearing of the clouds there, that will give you a nice little anvil top layer. Okay, and again there too you can do some more additional layers, and sometimes there's some at the intermediate level there. You know, what I recommend is you go to something like National Geographic or some other great websites with beautiful clouds. In fact, hey, my brother, he's a storm chaser after all, so let's go and see his website, eclipsy.ch. And that's Eclipsy with a K. That's his mascot for the eclipse chasing. He does a lot of storm chasing and also solar eclipses. So here, when you go to this website, you'll see tons of examples of storms and lightning and all sorts of clouds, very freaky looking stuff at times. And that's a good place for inspiration. Tornadoes, thunderstorms, there you go. Some of these are links that you can click on, or you just look around on the website to discover more and more. Tornado, he also goes and runs tornado chasing tours in the US, in Tornado Alley. But even here in Switzerland where he lives, you'll see some amazing lightning storms and activities. And so these are great for inspiration if you want to see some examples of storms and you haven't had any for a while to look at. Like here in California where I live, we don't get too many thunderstorms or lightning or rain for that matter. So that would be a good place to start if you need to get an idea of what they actually look like. All right, so back to this. You know, one thing that obviously we'll want to do at some point also is let it rain, and for that we will go back to the rain plugin that's included in Pixelon's NEFX. That will be the next tutorial. On this one here, one thing I might also do is perhaps play a little bit with the filters, and you may be able to do some of that with PD Particles as well. But definitely a better place to go is PD Pro. There are so many more filters to play with. But you know, you could give it a little bit of a reddish tint if it's getting close to sunset. You could actually totally overdo it, right? If you like Barbie. If you want to have a real sunset look, you could go with let's see, something like photographic filters there, sunset or fog looks and so on. So with the sunset filter, you can give it a little bit more of a reddish tint or a bluish tint at the top, and a little bit more of a reddish yellowish tint towards the bottom. That too will add a tremendous amount of depth to the clouds, because now it looks like maybe there's even something shining from underneath. And then of course the mother of all effects is the lens flares, and if you right click on the linear tool here, you'll see a variety of nova options, different stars, and of course the lens flares. Those are just marvelous to add a sun or a star of some sort, because who says that these clouds are on planet Earth? These could be somewhere else. You know, add something like this here and put it right there on top. There you go. Or perhaps something with a little bit less of a lens flare. Let's go undo that and finish it with something like this. That's an odd color, but yeah, hey, why not? Right? There you go. And one important thing, by the way, to make it look realistic is that you have an idea up front as to where the sun is going to be. And then when you do your silver lining, try to make them stronger, brighter, thicker on the side that kind of faces that. Whereas the other side of the cloud maybe still has it because it's showing through but to a lesser extent. So this one is good because you don't see a whole lot there, but you should have more on this side, on the right side. Okay, so that's, you know, given that the cloud, the sun is right over here on this side. All right, so in the next segment, we'll take a look again at Pixelon and the NEFX filters collection. That's an add-on that you can buy for normally for about $24. There is actually a promotion going on right now in July 2011, and so if you look at overview on the Dog Waffle, you can go to the let's see, third-party plugins. Where would I see those? Probably scroll down a little bit. Plugins, third-party plugins, there they are. And in those third-party plugins, you see a whole new collection of Pixelon NEFX. Learn more, click on that. We have a page here that kind of summarizes some of the capabilities of this. And it's by far not exhaustive. I mean, it is a whole lot. I think there's like over 200 filters in that collection. Many of them are really made for video artists. If you use any of the high-end tools, you know, any like After Effects, Premiere, Premiere Pro, Photoshop, Sony Vegas, Pinnacle Studios, any of those, this will definitely appeal to you. Well, even as a user of PD Pro now, you can find a version of NEFX for PD Pro. And I highly recommend it. In fact, it's on sale, I think, for $19 at this time. This one here is the one that we'll be looking at, the Rainfall. So you see whatever clouds you have, whether they are real clouds from a video sequence or something you painted, it's a great place to go if you want to add some totally realistic rainfall on top of that. There's lots of different parameters that we can play with on that rainfall. So we will do that in the next segment. Stay tuned for more. This is Philip Steiger at thebest3d.com with PD Howler and the Daily Dose.